Welcome to the Healing Heart Podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Dawna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Welcome back to the Healing Heart Podcast, everybody, and I am your host, Dawna Campbell. Now, my guest today is truly exceptional because he has a PhD in natural health and nutrition, a master's in nutrition, and a bachelor in health sciences. And if that is not enough, he has spent over 20 years in the health and fitness industry. He's worked as a personal trainer. He's even taught the trainers, and then he taught total wellness at a university for over 10 years. He has a love for wellness and peak performance, which led him to studying farming and permaculture to learn more about food and practice the highest level of nutrition possible. He loves to challenge himself physically, and he has even ridden a bicycle from Fort Lauderdale to Houston, Texas. Now that is totally impressive. Just really for the environment after the giant oil spill on Earth Day. Now, I don't know if that's something that I could do, but certainly worth trying there. He finds joy in spreading the wisdom of wellness with inspiration with his son and his father who live with many health complications. So everybody, let's give a huge warm welcome to the Healing Heart Podcast, Dr. Keith J. Lopez. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here, Dawna. It's so great. I love spreading the message, and I love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love having different guests on because I'm always learning new things along the way. Now, I'm curious, what got you started in wanting to get your degrees in natural health and nutrition and do the work that you did? Is there a backstory? Is there a personal story there?
Definitely. That's a great question. I have his picture right here. My father, Dr. Lopez, who also inspired me to heighten my education to get those two little letters in front of my name, because he was always an inspiration. Every time we would go out somewhere, someone would say, "Do you know who your father is?" Like, of course I do. But then they tell me how he helped them so much. And even to his last days on earth, when it was beyond his days, at his funeral, so many people came up to me that I knew that I didn't realize how much he affected their life, and kept on telling me how much he affected their life with education. He was a doctor of education. And I kind of felt like I let him down when I was little because I got kicked out of school like a few times over. But then when I took my first nutrition class, I was like, whoa. It was like the light came on me, like, ah. And I realized it was that moment where I wasn't necessarily a bad student. It was that, excuse me, that I didn't really care because I don't think a lot of my teachers cared. And I definitely wasn't interested in the subject. And when nutrition came, I was so interested because I realized it's not our genes that control our destiny and destination. It's our plates and our lifestyle. And I realized that my family, what we were eating and what we were doing controlled a lot of our health. And my father had his first heart attack when I was 9 years young on the way to Riverside Amusement Park. And I was just like, we can't play anymore. And then I realized we can play and that we control our health. And I realized how many steps my father, as awesome as he was, of living a great life, he didn't take the steps for nutrition and wellness. And there are so many aspects to wellness, yet nutrition was my first one. And it just led me on a path of exploration, loving my teachers and loving the books.
I love that. I love that. What was it about nutrition that really ignited your path? Was it how to eat? Was it the benefits? Was it here's what food can do? What part of that? Because most people, when they think about nutrition, are like, no, I just want, the cookies and the cakes and the donuts. And And you're like,
Super privileging.
no, nutrition, let's go feed ourselves.
Yeah, well, I was definitely into cookie cakes, and like I call a slave to
Mhm.
the brands. Ding Dongs, Ring Dings, Coca-Cola, Kit Kats, and Dunkin' Donuts. They're all brands. They're not really foods, you know? We think of them as foods, excuse me, but they're all brands. And I slowly realized that. Yet the big kicker, and it's a great question, because I could remember like yesterday, one person in the class was in a wheelchair and she had spinal bifida. And I actually know one of my students, her daughters has spinal bifida, and I love her very much, like the student and the daughter. I know them both. And she's getting such amazing gains. And that's a whole nother story. Yet the story that I'm sticking with is the spinal bifida in my classroom, right? I was in there, I didn't realize, I just saw another person in a wheelchair. But then she explained spinal bifida into the year, the teacher, that spinal bifida is actually just a lack of one nutrient, one vitamin when you are pregnant. And
Oh,
that's why we take uh like pregnancy,
mhm.
pre-birth vitamins.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, the student, her sister, she lives in Ireland, and she said that we don't take prenatal vitamins here because we eat so many greens. And when
Mhm.
you eat greens, you get that nutrient.
Uh-huh.
And it blew my mind that our
Wow.
spine will not form properly from one little vitamin, a vital
Yeah.
amine. And then the history of nutrition, it just, I just like ate it up. And I was like, wow, I could change myself. And then my energy levels from
Uh-huh.
like slave to brands, which took years to quit that addiction. And
Mhm.
it's still, it still is like, whoa, sometimes, they, we're in a world of it. Like I say, there's a war going on, no man or
Uh-huh.
woman is safe from.
Right.
Get your ammunition. So I'm always armed with like fruits and vegetables, and it did take me years to train my taste buds. And I
Mhm.
say that because I know how we train our taste buds. My baby, he's 6, Jai, and he ate a Hershey's Kiss recently, and I was like, go ahead, of course you could eat whatever you want, buddy. And I try and tell him the ingredients, and he reads the ingredients, he spit it out. He didn't even like it. And he's grown up with chocolate. He's
Mhm.
eating cacao beans and cacao nibs, which most
Mhm.
people don't even know
Don't.
what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Nutrition has such an impact on our lives. I don't think that a lot of people realize. Now, in the healing world, where I come from in my background and in my coursework, they talk about that there is a vitamin and a mineral that will actually heal physical level dis-ease for whatever is going on. So it's really interesting that when you're talking about spinal bifida, that it comes down to an essential vitamin mineral, which it affects the spine, and minerals affect our bones and spines. And so you need to have these things to have good structure. And I just find that whole world fascinating, that if we really do take care of ourselves, eat properly, it doesn't mean you can't have every once in a while, the birthday cake, which we all do. But you'll find, like you were saying, that you're not going to be drawn to those foods because you're used to the health side of things. But do you find that to also be true, that there is a health, like a vitamin or a mineral for every physical thing that we can experience in our body?
100%. And right when you said that, it brings up one thing in particular, which is what I call the Joy Master Key, which
Uh-huh.
I've made a podcast about it. I'm actually gonna make another podcast about historical nutrition, because there's so much more I could talk about, and I'll talk about one or two more. But the first step, like I said for myself, is the Joy Master Key. Like I always have a key around my neck. It's over somewhere. I took it off to work out, but I have a
Uh-huh.
key on my desk too, to remind me that the key is, and for everyone listening, I'm holding a physical key to remind me, and I like put it to my forehead and go. Kids love
Mhm.
when the sound is there, and put it to my heart. So I open the key and open the doors so that I am ready to unlock my potential, my greatness. And it
Yeah.
takes our mindset first. And I say this about dis-ease because first we must choose. Like,
Hmm.
my father was super educated. He had the opportunity, yet he believed we could be living or we could be lying. Because it's really like, either way, it's really only true if we believe it to be. So
Hmm.
we can believe something to empower ourselves, or we could believe something that isn't really helping us. Because if someone believes that fruits and vegetables are not healthy, they probably are going to put enough power into them that they're going to disempower this super food that we have on this earth, that you could grow in abundance, that we could
Right.
eat in abundance, that tastes so great. And to me, it's again the choice and the belief that like a cake tastes better than and we have so many comparisons. I
We
actually
do.
have in one of my books Twinkies to ital, which is like, I don't know if you ever had breadfruit. Like, we could have bread, but we could also have breadfruit, and it tastes just like bread. We could
Oh, wow.
have uh, one of the biggest ones that people don't know about is lemon meringue pie fruit. It's
Oh, wow.
ridiculous. It tastes like lemon meringue pie. And then we have, I'm sure you've had juicy fruit bubble gum, right?
Really, really, really long time ago.
Yeah, me too. Really long time ago. Even the packaging is mimicking what they synthesized, which
Yeah.
is jackfruit, the world's largest fruit. And it tastes just like, smells just like bubble gum because they synthesized it, but really bubblegum tastes like jackfruit.
Hmm.
And there are so many other examples of this. So to me, it starts in the mind to like explore and realize there are so many fruits. I travel the world to
Hmm.
taste different fruits.
Hmm.
They're so amazing. Every time I go somewhere, even in Amsterdam, got to try where I didn't think it was a city. I didn't think I'd try a new fruit, but I got to try mangosteen, which is like
Uh-huh.
such a delicacy. It's called the king of fruits. It's
Oh, wow.
absolutely amazing. So it starts in the mind. And then, yeah, definitely, there are so many diseases are originated from
Hmm.
food, like nerve damage. And in the Sinhalese language, it's called beriberi, saying, I can't, I can't. And people will cripple on the ground,
Yeah.
not able to move. This was the discovery of the first vital amine or vitamin, and that was thiamine B1. So
Hmm.
this one guy, he was feeding his chickens. He was feeding his chickens the polishings of rice.
Hmm.
So we call that like rice bran or rice germ or wheat germ. You could buy it separately in the store now. Wheat germ, wheat bran, and then the endosperm of wheat, which is like what we're really used to, or
Hmm.
the endosperm of rice, which is what we're gotten used to, which is white rice.
Uh-huh.
Some people don't know white rice and brown rice are the same thing. They're just polished. So when we took the polishings and we fed them the chickens, and they literally recovered. It took us
Wow.
like 10 years to understand it was a vitamin, not a bacteria. And then it took us 10 more years to synthesize that vitamin. And now we enrich all of our like wheat or even rice when it's refined like that. So we don't get berry, which is
Hmm.
a deficiency or a
Wow.
dis-ease. And we
Right.
get so sick from it. It's absolutely astonishing to me.
Wow. Wow. That is just truly, truly amazing there. Now, I know one of the things that we talked about beforehand in our pre-interview was the seven dimensions of health, of in there of wellness. I use the words health and wellness and wealth and all of that combined together. So, what are the seven dimensions of wellness?
I love that you say you combine those words like they're synonyms, because I consider happiness
Hmm.
synonymous with the word health and wellness.
Hmm.
And I taught total wellness in college for a decade, as you mentioned. And the seven dimensions of wellness are really special to me because it like organized teaching. And I was like, wow, people already organized this for me. because I actually list as many as 33 different human needs.
Mhm.
And I know we need so many things, but the basic orientation of that, or organization of that information, is the 7 dimensions of wellness. So we all know mental and physical, and most people would add to that spiritual,
Uh-huh.
which is, and it gets so deep when we go into it, like with spirituality, like people that believe in higher power or even go to an organized religion tend to live 7 years more on average.
Mhm.
Like it's, and lacking sickness. So that's really amazing to me. And then we have social wellness, we have
Mhm.
environmental wellness, emotional wellness, and the last one, which kind of could be two. I used to always say occupational wellness, but
Uh-huh.
it's also financial wellness.
Yes.
And it took me till I had a child to realize how important financial wellness is
Mhm.
and how much of a tool that spiritual token called money can be. So when I like to say we have like one chain could break, one weak link in the chain can break our wellness. And those are kind of the basic chain of wellness,
Mhm.
is those 7 dimensions of wellness. And also, something else that popped in my head is another one stat that got me deep into wellness and health and nutrition is the last 11.7 years of most people's lives in America are spent in illness. And I knew
Wow.
that wouldn't be me.
Wow. That is crazy. I would not have known that or guessed that 11 plus years in sickness. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Truly, truly crazy.
super
All right,
wild.
everybody. We are listening to the Healing Heart podcast with my guest today, Dr. Keith J. Lopez. And we are going to take that quick sponsor break. But when we come back, we're going to get some tips and some benefits from him to increase our nutrition. Hold on just a moment. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. Okay, welcome back here to the Healing Heart podcast. And we are here today with Dr. Keith J. Lopez talking about nutrition and wellness and fitness and all kinds of fun topics here of really how our bodies respond to nutrition. And now I'm curious here, we had just gone over the 7 dimensions of wellness. And before I dive into asking some of the different tips that you might have for our listeners, I'm curious about your perspective on the emotional aspect, because there was a time in my life where I was in a marriage and it was incredibly angry. And no matter what I ate, everything stayed on the weight. And I was going to the gym and I was working out and I had personal trainers. And after a year, no change. And another 6 months went by, different gyms and different trainers, and nothing went by. Well, that marriage dissolved. The anger left the house. I was happy. And 40 pounds came off of my body in 3 months when I wasn't doing anything. And if I wanted, brownies for dinner, I did eat them because they were like my favorite. I don't do that anymore today necessarily, but because you're in that enlightened, happier state. So really, what is the impact of our emotions on the physical body? Because I don't think people make that connection.
I love it. I love what you asked. Get ready for some gems right here.
Okay.
And I was just like writing down, if you're watching me, I was writing down on my little mini whiteboard a bunch of things to remember, because I highly believe in Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, to like
Mm-hmm.
get things done within those 5 seconds. I've heard so many stats that humans, we forget things from between 7 and 50 seconds, and they could just be gone to the ether.
Mm-hmm.
So you dropped some gems right there, and so much came to mind. I wanted to really get it down, including listeners stay with us because I got an amazing brownie recipe that is healthy and is amazing and delicious. And it does taste like awesome brownies. Now, again, we got to train our taste buds because they are going to be a bit different, a teeny bit different. I've gotten to the point where I will, and since I had my son, I mentioned him a lot, that I've let myself release and let go of certain strictness, because the main reason is I was so strict, like for a while, for a year, I only ate like raw foods, fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, like biblical style. Felt amazing. And I realized I don't want him to be stuck, or me to be like upset with him and be like, no, we could only eat fruits and vegetables and you can't have anything else. And you can't have that one brownie or donut. Want him to be able to try it and be like, oh, dude, this doesn't taste that good. Actually, just yesterday, he said, Dad, I want to eat just raw food, just fruits and vegetables for like 20 days to clean out my stomach. And I was like, oh my Lord, I don't even know
Right.
if I'm ready for that right now, bro. That's great. And it's amazing. So before I even talk about these tips and respond to what you said, and this is responding, it's The Biology of Belief,
Mhm.
right? By Bruce Lipton. I'm sure you've
Mhm.
heard of it, right? It's amazing. Yes. Got the big head nod by Dawna, because it's such a great book, listeners. If you haven't read that or listened to it as an audiobook or listen to Bruce Lipton, he's amazing. And this is not some guy that, I mean, I got some accolades, some university time, yet he has exposure to like magnification lenses that we don't even understand. Like we would never have access to, because he's like 1% of the world that has access to the highest level of technology to really look at our genes and our cells and really understand things and then explain them in such a beautiful, simple level. And one of his first books, Biology of Belief, such a great read. And he talks about how we have a blueprint, and it, some people say our genes control our health, yet we can't even read our blueprint if
Right.
we do different things. So I have, just like everyone in this country, a blueprint for diabetes that ravages 10% of the population, or heart disease that
Mhm.
kills 1 out of every 3 people, or 2,400 people a day, like my father. And my blueprint is not going to be able to get read for that. It's only
Mhm.
getting read for health and wellness, because I don't eat and do the things that will cause heart
Mhm.
disease. Like there's
Right.
no chance of that happening to me. You could check in with me 50 years from now. I guarantee it will not happen. And a lot of that is mindset. So another thing is, no matter what we eat, as Dawna enlightened us with, we can gain weight. She could have been like a raw food vegan and eating
Mhm.
perfectly and weightlifting every day, and it's still gaining weight, because we have endorphins and we have our mind as number one, the joy master key. Our mind controls our body. Our body does not control our mind.
Mhm.
And when we eat certain things, yeah, it does awesome things. And she probably would have gained a lot more weight if she was like binging and eating Mickey D's every day. Yet, as she said, she was eating pretty well and she didn't change except for the stress. And then all of a sudden, 40 pounds dropped. That's like the weak link in the chain, emotional wellness, that I talk about when I talk about it with my students. I'm like, listen, this is not a mentorship for here's what to eat and here's how to move, because that's, most people, if they did what they know, even if it's a little off, it would still be way better than when they where they are. We
Mhm.
need that extra. Like when we're goal setting, they're surprised when I'm talking about what type of house do you want, if that's their interest. They want to redo their house. Let's get details. Let's get some. When are you going to do that by? Like, I thought our goals were just physical.
Mhm.
And no, because that's just one part of wellness.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, the endorphins that popped off in your body, the chemical reactions that are happening from fight, flight, or freeze, are happening to most of us all the time. Like, you are not alone, Dawna, and you're not alone if you're listening and you're going through what she went through. There is a way out. Like, she got out. We have to leave that stressor, because a lot of times it's hard to leave the stressor. Back in the day, we'd have a lion or a tiger chasing us. We could just run from that, and that's the flight. Or we fought it, or we died and we froze and we just got eaten by the lion. Yet now we have bills as our lion. We have a relationship that we feel like we can't get out of as that lion or bear that's attacking us every day. And we're in constant fight or flight mode. And when we're in that, we can't digest food. That's why I say, like, there's 33 needs. Like, and no, diet is not 80%, like so many people believe. Because you just said, like, your diet didn't change, and then all of a sudden you drop weight. Stress, if you're stressed, you cannot digest, assimilate food. Like, it's happened to all of us. You're stressed and you try to eat something, and maybe it comes up. Like, I used to throw up all the time as a kid. That was another big reason why I got into nutrition, because I threw up like every week as a kid, in school, on the bus, on myself, embarrassingly enough, like driving on the way to school. It constantly happened, and it like really tore me apart. Wasn't able to be an athlete, had zero coordination, and it hurt. It hurt mentally, it hurt physically, it hurt emotionally. And I hope to save people from that, what my dad went through, what I went through, and what so many people go through. And then the emotional stress, yeah, we're not going to be able to digest food. It could come up that way. It could come out as like diarrhea. It could come up on our skin as eruptions with acne or a rash or a hive. This happens to so many people. Or physical pain, like inflammation in our joints. And we can get over it. We can get over it by letting go of that stress and letting go of things like, artificial flavors of brownies, right?
Right.
So, brownie recipe. Are you ready for it, Dawna?
Yeah, real quick, because we're coming up onto time here.
Super quick. I get excited. So I love talking about health. So super quick. All you do is take almonds. It's nice to soak them. And then you take cacao powder and then dates. Those three ingredients, you blend them up, and it really turns into like an amazing brownies. If you like a lot, use a good amount of cacao powder, and it'll come out great. And then you could alter it. It's usually about like a quarter cup of almonds and a quarter cup of dates, or more if you want a bigger recipe, a cup each. But it's equal parts almonds and dates, and then a little bit of cacao powder, and you got a delicious one. You could add things like vanilla extract or other nuts if you would like
Really simple, really simple. And is it like a raw brownie? Then you just press it
yeah,
and then eat it. You
that's
don't have
it.
to bake it or cook it. So you get all the nutritional value.
5 minutes and you're done. Not even have to
All
cook it.
right. I'm going to have to go try that this afternoon just
Done.
because
Thank
you
you
shared
so
that
much.
recipe there. All right. So, everyone, yes, how do we get in touch with you? Because here's the thing. I think stress is such a huge component. And I asked this earlier in our pre-interview that, how do you really get rid of those last 10 pounds we hold on to? But after listening to you, I really think that there's a huge stress component that once you identify what that component is, everything else in the body will function because you're actually digesting intentionally with purpose, with the right emotions and the right feelings. So I want everyone to reach out to you so you can definitely help them on their journey, because this is huge. It's a huge epidemic in the United States with people being overweight and unhealthy, but yet we want to live those long, prosperous lives. So what is the best way to get in touch with you?
100%. Super appreciate it. You can follow me on social media at Dr. Keith J. Lopez on just about all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all the other ones. And I'm also on YouTube. I believe it's Dr. Keith J. Lopez or OG Fit. And my website is drkeithjlopez.com, or OG, like original greatness, .com, ogfit.com. And you could book a call with me if you'd like. It's a free call, and we could see if I could help you out, take a deep dive in your health, and create an action plan. If you're the right fit, we could jump on the mentorship. I also have, as a free resource, a podcast also that is OG Fit Health in 10 Minutes on all platforms.
All right. I totally love it. And all of that information, of course, everybody, is in the show notes. So definitely grab that, book that consultation call. And for everyone out there listening to the Healing Heart podcast, always remember, go create that beautiful day.
Thank you.